It was 3 o'clock in the night, and the sound of a girl crying loudly on the roof was breaking the silence. This girl was talking to Allah. To someone looking, it would seem as if she was crying out of pain. But she wasn't crying out of pain, she was crying out of her love for him. She was talking to him saying, Ya Rab, you were listening all this time. You were seeing everything. When I used to cry, when I cried for hours and hours in sujood, when I made dua, you heard it all. You heard it all, right? You were seeing every single thing. You were seeing my pain, right? She just kept saying it over and over. Allah, you were watching, right? You were listening to everything, right? And do you know why she was saying all these things to Allah? Do you know why? She was saying these things because a miracle had happened in her life that she had never even imagined. Something she no longer even expected. The girl in this story was me. It has been 10 years now since I started praying Tahajjud. And the beginning of praying Tahajjud is like what we all do. When we have a need, we turn to Allah in the late hours of the night. We make dua, thinking that Allah Almighty will grant us that thing. I started that way too. But today, 10 years later, Tahajjud has completely changed for me. I have understood its meaning. I have understood the things I did not understand back then. I prayed Tahajjud for 10 years. But it's not as if I never missed a day. In between, it was missed when I couldn't pray, or when it was missed due to illness, or sometimes I stayed asleep and missed it. But I never missed Tahajjud aside from these reasons. And I was too afraid to do so. I never prayed a lot of rakats. I almost prayed 2, sometimes I prayed 4. Because I have started my Quran memorization journey some time ago, I did not even recite much of the Quran during Salah except the mandatory surahs. But I would definitely go just to mark my attendance. Sometimes I would make very long du'as, and sometimes for whatever time I had, I would sit there and then get busy with my other work. But today, whatever happened in my life, whatever did not happen, whatever I achieved and whatever I did not achieve, my entire being revolves around that hour of the night. What happens in your life by praying Tahajjud for 10 years is something I want to tell you all today. You cannot even imagine what I am about to tell you, because it was completely unexpected for me too. So my beginning with Tahajjud was in 2016. As most of us do, we start praying and make dua in Tahajjud because of some need. It happened because our household conditions had been bad for many years. I tried different online jobs so I could bring in some income to earn enough money to support my father, which I failed at miserably for so many years. I was obsessed with fixing the condition of my home, my family. It seemed to me that if I earned a lot of money, the fights in my house would end. And this was the thinking of a teenage girl back then who was the eldest daughter and thought she would fix everything. Several years passed while all this was happening, and things started to get darker as the time passed. But there was a story, actually 3 stories, that made me so determined to pray Tahajjud, and maybe they will help you too. It started off from a lecture by a scholar, and that was about Rabia Basri. So what kind of woman was Rabia Basri, and how did she spend her life? How did she love Allah? That is the best part of her story. And her story changed my life. Allah gave me the guidance to start praying Tahajjud, and this was the story that actually brought this idea to me. Rabia Basri was such a woman who was very pious and very famous. Even today, people know her and even recognize her name, that there used to be a very pious lady named Rabia Basri. Her story has a very big role in my life. The scholar was saying that every evening after Isha prayer, Rabia Basri would get ready and ask her husband, "Do you need me?" And if he said no, she would take permission from him, "Can I worship throughout the night?" He would say she had permission, and after that she would change her clothes into her prayer chadar, kind of a shawl, and go to the rooftop, spread the prayer mat and stand before Allah. She would start after Isha and continue worshipping until Fajr. But my life did not change just from the aspect of her praying Tahajjud. It changed from a difficult time she faced. It changed because of onions. Let me explain. One morning, she sat down to cook a meal. She ran out of onions. Now, onions are put in the curries, and there was no one to serve her, no children, and because she had been widowed early, so no husband. There was no one she could send to the market. What happened next is a hawk passed through the sky over her house. It had onions in its claws. As it passed over her, it dropped the onions, and they fell right into her lap. This reminds me of the narration from At-Tirmizi. If you were to rely upon Allah with true reliance, He would provide for you as He provides for the birds. They go out in the morning hungry and return in the full evening. When I heard this, I thought that if Allah helps Rabia Basri like this, because she prayed Tahajjud, then if I pray Tahajjud, Allah will help me as well. And my journey of Tahajjud began with this one thought. I wanted to spend a long time during Tahajjud. So I started waking up 2 hours before Fajr. But now waking up 2 hours early doesn't mean I was actually able to stay awake. In the beginning, it was very difficult. Every day the alarm would ring, I would wake up, perform wudu, spread the prayer mat, and sometimes I would lean against the wall and fall asleep. I would stay asleep for as long as 2 hours. Sometimes I would be praying and fall asleep in sajda. And when I would wake up, I wouldn't even remember which rakat I was praying. But there was a lot of guilt inside me at that time. That guilt was that I used to say to Allah, Allah, I come to pray Tahajjud to ask you for something. Right? I did not come for you. If I loved you, I would have come for you. I just kept repeating this to Allah, that I have come to you for a need, for a purpose. But Rabia Basri used to pray because of her love for you. I don't know why people consider this a bad thing. They feel that when we talk like this or compare ourselves to others, we can never be like them. I believe this most of all, that we have no comparison to their ibadah and the sacrifices they made for Allah, the sacrifices of Sahaba, then the Tabi'un, those who followed them. We can never reach them. But why did Allah bring these stories to us? To teach us, right? To make us understand. And how did I understand this? When Prophet ﷺ was going through the most difficult time of his life, Allah revealed Surah Yusuf. Allah revealed to him a story, the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, showing how a difficult time came upon him and Allah, brought him out of it all. So I feel that as humans, when we hear such stories, they give us strength in our lives, but they also inspire us. We feel that yes, Allah is with us, Allah is listening, and Allah has heard His servants before. He will hear me too. And these stories gave me so much strength. I will continue to tell you in this podcast and in the next episodes which stories gave me a lot of strength and also inspired me to move forward and to not let my hope break. So regarding Rabia Basri, I also used to think that if Allah did a miracle for her because of Tahajjud, Allah would do a miracle for me too. But then that guilt would also be in the back of my mind, that I'm not even praying Tahajjud for Allah. I'm doing it because I need something from Allah. That's why I'm praying. Regardless, I kept praying. These thoughts are always from Shaitan because he wants to distance you from Allah. I would wake up every day, make wudu, pray 2 rakats of Tahajjud, and sit and talk to Allah. What did I talk to Allah about? I used to tell Him stories. The stories I heard in scholars' lectures or from books. I would retell those stories to Him, and I'd say something like, you heard the prayer of the Sahaba like this, they were going through this difficulty, and you had said this, right? Then I would say, look Allah, look at what happened with Ibrahim alayhis salam, and then how you heard his prayer and how you sent Jibreel. Sometimes I would tell the story of Khala raziyallahu anh, my favorite story, and how she was pleading to Prophet over and over even though he answered her. She kept on insisting, then you sent down the Quran from the sky to answer her. because her prayer shook your throne. I used to ask this question repeatedly. O Allah, does not my du'as shake your throne? Does not my tears shake your throne? Having such hope in Allah, and you know what? Many people always say to me, we aren't that pious enough for all of this to happen for us. I tell everyone that I am more sinful than all of you. And I know that I'm not worthy of any blessings Allah has given me. But I have one belief, and I want all of us to develop it within ourselves, that I am a sinner, but my Allah is very merciful. My faults are many, but His mercy is greater. And when we walk with this thinking, Allah is as His servant perceives Him. And Allah has told us that I am as you think of I am. So I used to call out to Allah a lot and talk to Him like that. Where did I learn that one should talk to Allah like this? I was listening to a scholar's lecture where he was saying that where Nuh alayhi salam, after his nation rejected him about 900 years of preaching, or maybe it was 950. I think 950 was the right number. When he prayed to Allah against his nation, that prayer was so loved by Allah that He included all of His words in the Quran. I don't remember that prayer in detail, but I remember it's just from the tafsir. How He said, Allah, I called them by day and night. When I called them openly, they turned their backs on me. When I called them from behind, they covered themselves in garments. And when I called them loudly, they put their fingers in their ears. He told Allah His entire story point by point. Hearing His story, I felt that Allah loves this. When His servant pleads to Him, that you sit and talk to Him like you would talk to a friend. Just like you go on and on in front of a friend you know would listen. I will tell you later why Allah loves this and why He wants us to do this, but first let's finish the story. So I would just keep talking to Allah. Sometimes I talked for so long that 2 hours, 3 hours would pass until the sun would come out, and I had a habit of going to the roof to pray Tahajjud. It gave me a very surreal feeling to look above and talk. Sometimes something about the starry nights is just so beautiful. So I was telling you about the story of Rabia Basri. She had made a will to her maid that when I die, don't tell many people. Quietly give me funeral bath, call 4 or 5 people, have the funeral prayer and bury me. When Rabia Basri passed away, her maid did exactly that. And she gave her the bath, the shout, called few people and buried her in the night. When morning came, people found out that she had passed. They started an uproar because people feel very lucky to participate in the funeral of such person. So they couldn't. But what happened next? That night, the maid had a dream. She saw Rabia Basri sitting in a beautiful green garment, shining. And the maid asked, how did Allah deal with you? She replied, Allah dealt with me very well. First, Rabia Basri thanked her, thank you very much that you handled my burial exactly as I asked. Then the maid asked, where is your Tahajjud shawl? Because Rabia Basri had wished to be buried in the shawl she used to pray for Tahajjud. It is kind of like a scarf but a bigger one. Rabia Basri gave a very beautiful answer, and it is my wish to do the same. Allah has kept it with Himself, and on the day of judgment, He will weigh it on the scales. This touched me so much that I want this in my life. If you all pray Tahajjud, you can do this too. And for my brothers, you can use your cap or set aside a shawl, something that you think you would want to be buried with. But it wasn't just the Rabia Basri story that brought my life towards Tahajjud. And oh, I forgot to tell you those beautiful words she used to recite before Tahajjud. They are my favorite. Whenever I remember, I start Tahajjud with these. I look towards the sky and repeat these words. And the words are, stars are shining and the eyes of men are closed. Kings have shut their doors, but your door is left open. All the lovers are with their lovers, and here I am standing before you, in the hope for what is good with you, and in the fear of what is not with you. I will repeat these words for you again, and I love them so much, and I will explain them to you And when I repeat them now, I want you to visualize it. Close your eyes and visualize that the stars are shining in the sky and everyone is sleeping. You're standing outside before Allah. The stars are shining and everyone is asleep. Remember this. So the words are, stars are shining and the eyes of men are closed. Kings have shut their doors. Now imagine that the doors of everyone's houses are closed. Kings, everyone. But your door is left open. Think about the sky that Allah Almighty says He descends to the first heaven in the last third of the night, as befits His Majesty. All the lovers, and this is the best part, I love it so much. Imagine that every person is with the one they love. This time of the night, every human or other creations are with their loved ones. A child with the mother, a husband with the wife, and the list goes on. The pairs Allah has made are together, and it is everywhere. But she is saying, and here I am standing before you, Allah. I am standing before you. In a very subtle way, she is saying to Allah without wording it, Allah, everyone else with the one they love, but I am standing with you. Meaning, I love you, O Allah. That expression of her love for Allah, I found it so lovely that I memorized these words. And then when I first heard them back when they were new to me, I used to recite them a lot in Tahajjud. Then slowly the habit was not very consistent. Even now, while I was preparing for this video, for this podcast, I remembered them, so I started reciting them a bit more again. And always, whenever you look at the sky, read this at night and feel it. You will see, and tears will come to your eyes. Because that love you have for Allah, that emptiness that always remains somewhere in the heart, which only Allah can fill, which only His love can fill, your heart will melt in that moment when you speak these words. And I want you to speak them loud enough so you can hear your own voice. Now, it wasn't just this one story that changed my life. There were some other stories that brought me toward Tahajjud. There was a story of a girl, and I love this story so much. You will say that I keep saying it about every other story, but trust me, you will love this story so much. If you are someone who love Allah so dearly, so much to an extreme intensity, you will connect to this story so much. Listen to the story. There was a girl who was performing tawaf around the house of Allah at night. Junaid Baghdadi, a very famous wali of Allah, making tawaf around the Kaaba at the same time, probably Tahajjud time. Now I believe this incident is narrated by him, and these incidents that I'm telling you about, I have heard them from a very, very good, well-known scholars, and some of them are taken from various books. So Junaid Baghdadi was performing tawaf around the Baitullah at night, and he heard a girl loudly reciting poetry, and he got really angry at that girl. So what were the words that just made Junaid Baghdadi angry and then unconscious? They were such beautiful words. Whenever I read these words, I think about that girl, that who was she? How she must have loved Allah. Her words were something like this. And the original poetry is in Arabic, so it's the translation. I tried hard to guard my heart, made countless excuses. I tried hard to guard my heart, made countless excuses. But love arrived and pitched its tents, pulled the ropes tight, and rendered my heart helpless. I live in His love, and in His love I die. When He is not seen, I go mad. When He reveals Himself to me, when He appears, I die. And then He brings me back to life, spreading His love through every vein of mine. Let me explain the meaning of this to you line by line and what emotion she is actually talking about. Then you will fully understand what it means. She's saying that I protected my heart a lot. This is a personal interpretation. Maybe that is what she means, or maybe not. So she's saying, I protected my heart a lot. How do I protect it? By making excuses. I tried to do many other things. I fell into the colors of the world, fell into sins. I tried to do many things. Like the distractions, maybe in our time, you can connect it to yourself, maybe in your situation. But love came and pitched its tent, meaning that the love of Allah came and took over my heart. It tightened the ropes. And in Arabic, the word is tanab. Like the Arabic poetry I'm talking about, the word tanab was used. When people pitch a tent to live in, nomads or whenever the tents are set up, that peg, which is struck and driven firmly into the ground with a hammer or something with a like something heavy, it's called tanab. And it says next that it tightened the ropes, meaning it was firmly driven into my heart and it made my heart helpless. Meaning your love took over my heart even though I tried very hard to protect myself. And I told you that what is protecting? It is constant whispering of shaitan, leading us towards sin, that is protecting. But love came and it pitched its tent. Then she says further that now I have fallen so much in love with Allah, O Allah, that I live in your love and I die in your love. Now the next explanation might resonate with you or might not. Hear it first. So she is saying, I live in your love, meaning you keep calling out to Allah and I want you to keep connecting it to your experience. How do you live in the love of Allah and die in the love of Allah? It's that you keep calling out to Him. You're asking in prayer, you're constantly talking to Allah in your heart, like during the day. But that sense of connection you feel with Allah, you don't feel it. Suddenly, it just stops. So the restlessness starts to overcome you. Like I remember if I was talking to Allah in Tahajjud, I would start crying. And sometimes I would cry for 2-3 hours straight because I was going through so much at that time. So if ever tears wouldn't come into my eye, I had a hard time crying, then I would get really, really worried. Not because of the problems I was facing, but because I couldn't cry. I felt like that Allah is angry with me, or maybe He's displeased with me, or I used to feel so much grief over this. Like, why can't I cry before Allah? And then some sign from Allah, like seeing a dream or some verse in the Quran coming before me, or that feeling being born again in my heart again, the tears would come back to my eyes. So it felt like that girl was saying, I live in your love and I die in your love. When I can't see you, I go mad. So in the love of Allah, there is pain. And that pain, my brothers and sisters, is so beautiful that all the joys and comforts of this whole world are nothing before it. I want you to just something that you love to do so much, but you know that it displeases Allah. Try leaving it for some time. Just say to Allah that I'm leaving it for you. And you will taste the sweetness of His love. And once you become addicted to it, you can never go back. It is your lifeline. It becomes your everything, your whole being. But you have to taste it first. And Shaitan, in all his traps, never wants this. I've learned it from a lot of experiences. So I was saying that it's a feeling like that when you feel connected to Him and then you don't feel that connection. And when the feeling returns, it takes on such intensity that when you cannot see Him, you go mad. And when He reveals Himself to me, like the connection comes back, I don't know how to explain this. You feel those emotions come with such intensity that they overpower your entire being. And then she says further, He then brings me back to life. He spreads His love through my every vein. I love this last line especially so much, meaning those emotions overpower you so much that you feel that every cell of your body, I don't know how to explain this feeling to you, but your whole being is in love with Allah. And it is that intense. But all this intensity that I was feeling was going to end in the coming period of my life. It was going to end for a very long time. I will tell you why that intensity ended. First, let me tell you the story of someone else who used to pray Tahajjud, and his words really inspired me. You all must know about Zainul Abidin, Rahmatullah alayh. He was from the Ahle Bayt and son of Hussein Raziyallahu an, and he was the grandson of Ali Raziyallahu an. At the time of Karbala, he stayed back because of the illness, so he couldn't go, and the rest were martyred. So his life afterwards were very painful because of what he had seen in Karbala at a very young age and what happened with his family. He was famous for his piety. I could do an entirely separate episode on his life incidents because his life was so much beautiful and full of lessons. He used to pray Tahajjud, and when he prayed Tahajjud at night, he also used to say words very similar to Rabia Basri. He used to say, and I love these words so much. I know I keep saying this, but these are the 3 stories that actually made me pray Tahajjud for 10 years straight by the will of Allah. O Allah, the eyes have also gone to sleep. O Allah, the stars have also gone to sleep. The doors of kings have been bolted, locked, and have been placed. The guards are standing with naked swords to protect them. O that being whose doors are never bolted, never locked, who needs no one's protection, who is Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the ever-living, the self-sustaining. But your servant, your slave, has come to mark his attendance at your door. These were some stories I would listen to again and again. They were etched on my heart. And because of them, they became a means for me to start the journey of Tahajjud. Because I believe that if I prayed Tahajjud, miracle would happen in my life and things would get sorted out. But when I started praying Tahajjud, why did everything that I already had started leaving my life? And a lot of time passed like this. Things started becoming worse and worse. Our financial situation, like if I could explain it into a one sentence, it would be that as soon as I started praying Tahajjud, everything in my life got a shock. Our financial situation became even more ruined. My mother became very ill. My father had heart attacks. The things that never happened before, but now they started happening. And it reached to the point where we couldn't even stay in the house we were living in because we couldn't pay its rent. We had to shift to a relative's house in another city. Now everything looked worse to me. And why wouldn't it look bad? Every single thing in my life that I thought was good was also leaving me. And this thing was giving me even more pain. I could not understand why all of this suddenly was happening. But I never grumbled to Allah. I did not complain because I was very scared of that. In my life, I had seen some people who, when difficulty came upon them, would talk wrongly about Allah. And I would get very angry. I used to think that Allah has given us everything. I did not get angry in that way. I felt as if someone is bad-mouthing my friend. Nauzubillah. And I felt if someone was saying something wrong about my friend, I would get angry that no, Allah is not like that and Allah never does anything to hurt his servant. And since childhood, that was my belief. This was just a blessing from Allah. Otherwise, with the circumstances I was going through at that time, who knows what I might have said and what wrong things I might have let out of my mouth. So Alhamdulillah. Like I have heard people saying, Nauzubillah, that things you might also have heard people say that I won't pray after this, or I won't make dua after this, or my taqdeer, my qadr is cursed. But this is shaitan speaking. This is a moment when shaitan mislead a human very much. He just wants you to lose hope in Allah. So anyway, when I shifted to that house, from there everything started happening in my life. And you all must be thinking that now I'm praying Tahajjud and it's about to be an year now. So now everything in my life should become good already. I've been praying Tahajjud for so long, sitting for 2 hours or 3 hours at night, talking to Allah, but no, all that did not happen. Instead, the opposite started happening. I told you my mother got sick, my father had a heart attack, the financial situation became even more worse. And I told you that we had to shift to another city. You know that this thing when you're living on rent and when you're living in someone else's house without paying a rent as a favor, it deeply wounds your self respect. And how that other person treats you is up to their will. At that time, I used to resist change a lot. I used to make so many du'as to Allah, and I made them with so much more intensity after I went to that house. And I would let it take over my head. Why, Allah? Why is this happening? Why? I would ask questions all the time. Why is this happening? I don't understand. And I asked you this, why this happened? And now I asked for this, and the opposite of that happened. And it kept going like this. Another year passed. Now I have been praying Tahajjud for 2 years. I took a gap year in between of my studies so I could give more of my time online, and maybe then my financial situation would get better. But even then, it did not. People used to talk a lot. Many people around me would say that if you did not study, worst will happen in your life. If you aren't educated, you won't find a good person, no one will marry you, and you won't find a good partner. So I joined college, and our condition became even more worse financially. Now we were in even more trouble. Day by day, conditions were becoming tighter and tighter. I even saw a day in my life that there was nothing to eat in my house since morning. And because we were living with some of the relatives nearby, so someone brought a plate of food. It was a plate of rice. I opened the door, and because I myself have been hungry since morning, I took that plate inside. At that time, my mother and my sister were at home. So I saw that my mother and sister were very hungry. I have never shared this incident with anyone, and I'm telling you all today. So I put that plate in front of them, and my mother told me, "You also eat." Pushed the plate in front of me, and she's asked me to eat. So I told them that no, I'm not hungry. And because I did not wanted them to see that on my face that I am sad, I quickly went upstairs and I started crying, so much so that I started to feel pain inside my chest. It was not because of the hunger. It is just that it's hard to see your family like this. I'm a very private person by nature, and it is so hard for me to share these stories. I'm not telling you this story to say that you say that how big sacrifice I made. Telling you this story so that you can understand the time that is to come when you see what Allah grants in exchange for these things. So you can understand it. Then these sacrifices you give for your own people, for His people, to remove a human's difficulty, they aren't visible to the world. But Allah counts every single thing. He keeps a record of it. And Allah says right in the Surah Maryam, I do not forget. And Allah, every single thing that perhaps for you too have forgotten, Allah keeps every single thing counted. He keeps account of your every tear, every dua, every pain. And all this time that I am telling you these incidents, during every single day of it, I am praying Tahajjud. Every day I used to wake up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, waking up 2 hours before Fajr. I would make wudu, spread the prayer mat on the roof and pray Tahajjud. Then in sajda, I would make long du'as. After that, having performed the salam, I would keep talking to Allah until the Fajr Azan. And this had become my daily routine. I used to get peace from this one thing. And whatever circumstances I was going through, when I sat and talked to Allah and told Him everything, I would become so relaxed afterwards. Even during the days I had a break from prayer and couldn't pray Tahajjud, I would still sit and talk to Allah at night. I would become so restless without it, and I felt like I wouldn't be able to function at all if I wasn't talking to Allah in the night. Because I wasn't sharing my pain and my worry with anyone, as is typical for the eldest. I won't share this with anyone because everyone is leaning on me and everyone is relying upon me. You feel like you cannot share your worry, that you can't handle these things and others will get worried. Because you think that you have to become the pillar for them. You don't want to appear weak in front of them. So at that time, this was my only source of peace, and this was enough for me. From 2016, we move forward. In that same year, when I joined college, it was I think 2017 maybe. I also created a channel and I made a YouTube channel, started uploading videos on it. My relationship with my father was not very healthy. When I used to talk about this before, that I work hard and you wouldn't have to work, I was mocked for it. Be with me because everything is about to change. Anyway, my channel was created, and at that time, the threshold for channel monetization was only 10,000 views. The videos I was making then weren't about myself. I was making simple Islamic videos. Some of my initial videos went viral and nearly 10,000 views came. And at that time, getting that many views was considered going viral. Like, for me, it was. And my channel got monetized. So when my channel got monetized, I did not tell anyone. I hid it from everyone, from the people at home, from relatives, like from everyone. I did not tell anyone anything, and I felt that I would only tell everyone if I actually made something. Because so many people used to say things to me that would make my heart sad, and so I stopped telling everyone. After that, in first month, my channel earned about $20, I think. In the second month, I earned $8, and then the January came, January of 2018. Some of my videos started getting a bit more views, and I made about total of $96 on my channel, combined with the November and December. But even then, I couldn't believe that all of this was happening. However, what was about to happen in the next month was something that I never even thought of. And I still hadn't told anyone that I have started making money. When the month of February came, my videos went so viral that I made a lot of revenue that month. It felt like something else. It was another kind of feeling. And like when you have seen a very difficult time for such a long period, even when the joy or relief is in front of you, you feel a kind of strangeness. Will I actually get this? Do I deserve this? And all these worries will actually end? These questions keep coming back to my heart. Anyways, as the moment was drawing near, I got my account open. I went secretly with a friend, got the account made. Now, you might be thinking that the moment is about to come that I've told you at the very beginning of this podcast. No, not yet. How everyone is behaving and how like people would say things to remind you of what circumstances you are in, how helpless you are, and how much you depend on those people. Finally, in the month of April. So it has been now 2 years since I started praying Tahajjud. And at this moment, the moment I'm about to tell you is very, very surreal to me. At that time, phones weren't as common as they are now, and I did not had a phone of my own at that time. So I got a SIM card and put my SIM card into the relative's phone who went with me when I opened the account. And the number I had given was like the SIM was in her phone. So if I received anything, she would get the message first. So I hoped that the payment would come this month. But when I checked, I realized that the YouTube payments only come after 21st. And it was 4th of April then. And I did not got the last few months payment. It had been accumulating in my account, in AdSense account. And on 4th April, I entered not 4th April, I think it was 2nd April maybe, that I entered my bank account information in AdSense, and I thought that my payment would come in few weeks. But still there was this feeling of strangeness, that is all of this real? Maybe some of you can relate to it. And then something happened. It was a Saturday morning, and because it was the weekend, everyone was sleeping in late. I was doing my normal morning askar. While I was doing those askar, I needed to check something on the phone. So I went to get phone from her. I don't remember, but I had to do something, like to check something maybe. I did not had a single thought in my mind about the payment. As I opened the messages, and I saw a message which read that payment has been credited to your account. To me, it felt like a miracle moment. Like all the things that happened and all of the sacrifices, hardships, tears, du'as, prayers, everything flashed before my eyes in a single moment. On that day, there wasn't even enough money in our house for us to eat a single meal. I looked at the phone, I saw the message, and it was a strange feeling. I put the phone aside, and the tears just started flowing from my eyes. And those tears were not stopping. I wasn't crying with the sound. I wasn't crying from pain. I was just crying, seeing the love of Allah. When you ask Allah, when you pray, when you hope for something to happen, and you hope for 1 year, 2, 5, 10, and then a day comes when your relief arrives by the will of Allah. For me, it took 10 years. I started working online jobs, failed at miserably when maybe I was 12 or 14, and I made my first dollar, my first income when I was 22. Then when I completed my askar, I woke everyone up. Until then, no one knew that this had happened. I woke everyone, and at that time, my bank account, the credit card, hasn't arrived yet. Only the account has been created. And I told everyone, and while I was telling everyone, I wasn't smiling or excited. I was just quiet. In those days, online work wasn't understood very well, and the fact that work can be done online, that all of this can be done, and that you can achieve all of this, everyone was a bit surprised. Anyway, all of that happened, and everyone was surprised, and everyone felt it was a bit weird. Like, how did the payment come? Where did it come from, and who gave it? How was the money made? And all these questions were in everyone's mind. Then on that day, there was a wedding in our family. And even though the payment had arrived in my account, I did not have the card yet to withdraw the cash. So my aunt said to me, take some loan from me and go and buy something nice for yourself, the clothes for the wedding. And I told her no, but my mother also insisted and saying, no, you should go and buy something nice for yourself. Even though I did not had intentions to do so, but I went with them, bought a suit and a pair of shoes for myself. And I've kept those shoes with me to this day because they were the very first thing I bought with my own earning. I came back, got ready, and went to the wedding. Since it was the first event of the wedding that day, when I was coming back, and usually on Saturdays it's the weekend, so banks don't operate. And on that day, I got a call from my brother saying, your card has arrived. And it was Saturday, and I said, really? It came on Saturday? Like when we were on the call. Because usually it's holiday for the bank, and it had arrived in the evening quite late. Anyway, I became very happy. Actually, I wasn't just happy. I was in a completely different mental state. I mean, when you go through such circumstances for such a long time, your brain becomes so conditioned to it that even when things get better, it takes time for you to become normal again. I called the helpline, got my card activated, and then got the cash. I paid back the loans, and I've started to feel a bit normal and happy again. And it felt so good that now we wouldn't have to ask anyone for loans. Now we wouldn't have to spread our hands before anyone. This thing was giving me so much joy, this thought alone. The next day, I took my mother and sister, bought them clothes. I bought my first phone. I still have a box with me. It was some Lenovo phone. I will put a picture for you guys here. I brought groceries, I brought fruit, and I brought everything for the house. When my father came back, because he had gone away for some work for a while, so it always had been my dream to be able to say to my father, you don't need to work anymore. I will handle everything. So when he returned, I told him. And everything became perfect, right? Hearing all this, it must seem to you that everything becomes so perfect and everything becomes so beautiful and happily ever after. But I've learned one thing in life. When one worry ends and its reliefs come, A little while later, another worry is always waiting for you. But then its relief also has to come. That relief comes exactly according to the scale of that hardship. And something similar happened to me. From here, a year of my life began in which there was a lot of ease, a lot of happiness. My relatives started coming to our house. We would talk, we would go for shopping together. My income kept growing, and I started doing a bit of saving. Anyway, in the midst of all this, my father and mother got separated and they went their separate ways. When the separation happened, my father left, and whatever the household items we had, all the furniture, beds, and everything went with him. But at that time, I was making enough money that I bought everything brand new for the house. I could afford it, and I bought everything. And I was really angry at that time. As soon as we set up the whole house, I remember I even bought a very beautiful dress for myself for the Eid. Ramzan was just around the corner. But a few days later, my life was about to change completely. So many years have passed since all these incidents. Even now, as I've reached this point in telling you all these stories, I am feeling just scared talking about these circumstances because it was such a hard time for me. No matter what my relationship with my father was, there was always a support, a knowledge that he would manage everything. But now he was gone, and my channel also got demonetized. I had kept some savings aside, and I had such a strong belief that before this money runs out, my savings runs out, my channel would be monetized again. So at that time, I had one person working for me, and I kept giving her salaries. I kept doing the normal household expenses and groceries, and in 4 or 5 months, all those savings were finished. A time came in my life that once again I was heading toward very harsh circumstances. And this time I was completely on my own. During all this time, I was praying Tahajjud. Now I had only a tiny bit of savings left, and our electricity bill came a lot more than I expected. So I thought that maybe by next month some help from Allah would come and I would pay the bill. I thought that with the money I have now, since it was the time of Eid al-Azha, I should pay for the sacrifice. And I thought if I spend this money on the path of Allah, Allah will definitely return it to me because I'm spending it in His ways. So I did get the sacrificial animal with that money, and all my savings were finished. My account became exactly zero. The sacrifice was done, and a few days later, I was completely out of money. Income did not come from anywhere else either, and my work did not start up again. And then the double bill arrived. And look at Allah's doing. I was the one who went to the door, and when they told me why they had come, my heart just sank instantly. I became very sad, and I felt broken. I started feeling very miserable because in our country, when you don't pay your bill for 2 months, they come to cut your electricity connection. And when I was standing at the door, I felt so broken at that time. And I said to Allah, oh Allah, I thought these people would never come. You will find me a way. But they still came. I called someone, a relative of mine, and it was the most painful moment. I told them that such a problem had occurred and I did not have any money. And this thing feels worse to me, stretching out a hand for help before someone. And I would have preferred to die rather than stretching my hand before anyone. But I had to do this for my family, for my mother. I called them, I convinced them and told them to give me the loan now and I would return it later. May Allah bless them. They gave the money at that time and we paid the bill. Once the bill was paid and now I don't have work, so how would the household expenses run? We could not live in that house anymore because we did not have money to pay for the rent, bills or groceries. So one of our close relatives, the one who gave us that loan, he said that we can't help you financially because of our own expenses are such. So why don't you start living with us instead? At this point, I was broke and about to be homeless. I cried a lot that night. I couldn't sleep, and it was the night before we had to leave. And I kept saying, Allah, let some miracle happen, let something, anything happen that we don't have to go. We don't want to go and live in someone else's house. But then we had to go. Those people stayed good with us for 2-3 weeks, but after that, they started getting annoyed. And I get that. I heard them saying many things like, we can't afford to live like this. But if they have not given us shelter, God knows what would happen to us. This is what I always be thankful to them for. And we never know what I would have done if I was in their place. Words hurt so bad when they come from someone of your own blood. A time came when I told them, I did not actually say it, but I felt it myself that we had become a very big burden on them. So I thought in my heart that if I moved back to the previous place, since it was their own house, so they would only have to take care of my sister and my mother. And that wouldn't be a problem for them anymore. I did not say this to them, but I thought it in my heart. And when we went there for some business, I don't remember, but I made some excuse and I started living there again. While I was living there, in those days, my sister used to earn a little bit of income by tutoring a child. And that payment was so little that it couldn't even bring a small meal for every single day of the week. Anyway, at that time, I felt more pain from the fact that I could not live with my family because I did not have money than I felt from hunger. Eventually, someone helped me at that time and gave me a small job with a monthly salary of a small amount. Along with that, I started my channel again. I tried different things and I did a lot of work. Along with that, I kept praying Tahajjud. I kept asking Allah. I even reached to the point where I begged a person to give me a job. And that's when something happened. Just give me a moment to recap everything for you so you understand what I will tell you after this. Every single thing that I wanted not to happen, happened. I used to think, if this happens, it will be the end of me. I thought if my channel did not monetize, it will be the end of me. That happened. I thought if my savings finished, everything will end. That also happened. I thought if I had to leave this house, that also happened. I thought if I have to spread my hands before someone, and that also happened. I thought that I don't have to sell household items, and I had to sell those too. Every single thing that I thought, if this happens, it will be the end of me. Every single thing kept happening. One by one, everything happened. I did not stop praying Tahajjud at that time because that was my only strength. That I would sit before Allah, pour out all my griefs before Him. I would cry, I would talk, and then I would walk into a new morning with a new hope, thinking that one day a solution would surely come. Then that moment was about to come in my life, which I mentioned to you in the beginning of this podcast. This was the darkest period of my life, the most painful period. But in this, I came to know Allah in a way I had not known Him in my whole life. By then, COVID has arrived and was at its peak. For my YouTube channel, by putting up small videos, I had completed the threshold of 4,000 hours in about 6 or 7 months. At that time, the hours were complete, but because of COVID, YouTube said that we are not reviewing channels right now for YouTube Partner Program because the employees are not available and aren't working. I remember when I read that a little while before my time was completed, I thought in my heart, oh Allah, if you intend good for me, then the whole world cannot stop that. And then that day came. The day when Allah's help finally arrived. And the relief from that worry came. I woke up in the morning and went to my aunt's. We were just talking and I was very peaceful that day. I was saying to her that I just know Allah is with me. And when the watch time 4,000 hours threshold was completed, I thought since it was the month of Ramadan, and I think it was 25th Ramadan that my time got completed. And I thought that on 27th night, I would pray 2 rakats of Salat-e-Hajat and then apply for the partner program. I had not applied yet. This was the afternoon of 26th Ramadan, and I think that's when I went to my aunt's house. Yeah, on 25th the time completed, and on 26th morning I went to my aunt's house. And in the afternoon, when I came to work and sat on my computer, I saw that when I opened my channel, the monetization sign was appearing next to videos. I refreshed it because I couldn't believe it. I said, "How is this happening? Maybe it's a glitch or something." I immediately opened the monetization tab and it said, "Welcome to YouTube Partner Program." I had received an email from 2 a.m. previous night. But what shocked me the most was that I had not even applied for monetization. Now, maybe YouTube's policy at that time had become such that once your time is completed, the application probably goes automatically. At that time, I felt that Allah had done a miracle for me. Something had happened for me from Allah that I cannot explain. Today, I am giving you all an explanation, but from my heart, I don't even want to accept it myself. I want to believe that Allah did that for me. Not because I am very special, but because Allah loves me. He is merciful. And then I went downstairs running and crying, and I told my mother, my brother, and I kept saying that I had not applied. I had not even applied for the monetization, and it still happened. Still it happened, and I was crying so much. And that night, when I went outside at 3 o'clock to sit for Tahajjud, this was the very moment about which I told you at the very beginning. And I was just crying and crying and crying. And my whole jilbab was soaked with tears. And I was saying to Allah, "Allah, you were listening, right? You were seeing everything, right? You were keeping account of my pain, of every single thing. When I used to cry, when I used to be in pain, when I used to perform long sajdas, and someone used to hurt my heart, and someone words would pierce my heart, and those words kept me awake at night. When I used to stay hungry, when I used to endure pain, when I used to keep sitting in the cold, so that if I turned on the heater, I would feel sleepy and wouldn't be able to work. I used to keep sitting in the heat. I did not used to sit in the air conditioner, because if I felt relaxed, how would I work? So I say to Allah, Allah, you are seeing all of that, right? And today you did this for me. All this time looking down upon me. You were there for me. But after that feeling, that yearning for Allah in my tahajjud, why did it decreased? How did it come down from 100% to less than a 10%? After this entire incident, I saw such ease, such successes in my life that I myself was surprised. And people around me were surprised too. Then my channel saw such success, such heights that it just kept going high and high. It felt like as if Allah Almighty had opened all the doors of the heavens, all the doors of the blessings upon me. Blessings for every side, blessings, blessings, and blessings. And Allah kept giving. He kept giving for 1 year, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8. But as these years kept passing, the intensity of my tahajjud prayers and their duration started decreasing. At first I would realize this thing, so I would try to cry a lot, and I would try to feel the same intensity I felt before. I would try to make long du'as in tahajjud, and then after a few days I would fall back. I wasn't able to do it much. I couldn't feel that intensity anymore, which I used to feel before. And no one talks about this, right? That when you ask for something with great intensity from Allah every day. I did not stop praying tahajjud during all of this. I kept praying. But that yearning I used to feel, it wasn't the same anymore. I understood it through an incident of Ayub alayhis salam, that what that yearning actually was. A friend asked Ayub alayhis salam after he was granted healing, "Do you remember the time of your illness?" He said, "I'm very grateful to Allah that Allah gave me shifa. That when I was ill, every night Allah used to ask me, 'Ayub, how are you?' And when He used to ask that, I would forget all my pain, all my grief. And now that I have been healed, Allah has stopped asking." I felt exactly like that. When I was in that much pain and I used to make dua and cry before Allah, it felt that Allah had kept me very close to Himself, to His love, to His proximity, because Allah has made us, right? Allah loves us very much. Because Allah compares His love to a mother. So when a mother sees her child in pain, she keeps him close to herself because she doesn't want to let him be away from her. She wants to be with him in his pain. Similarly, Allah loves His servants so much. So when we are in great pain, He keeps us very close to Him. Slowly, that intensity within me decreased. I never learned how to know and love Allah in the time of ease, how to keep loving Allah in the time of ease, how to maintain that khushu which was coming to you during the worry, during the trials. That is why today, whenever I see someone who is worried or going through hardship, and they talk to me about as if when it is going to end, like it always ends. That's the rule of the time. But do you know what I say to them? I say, enjoy this time. In this time, feel the love and the proximity of Allah. Because when this time ends, this proximity will also decrease, and drastically. Because worry eventually leaves. The hardships eventually leaves. And this is the sunnah of Allah. The moments of time never stop. They keep moving and they keep making every circumstances right. Where I am in my life now and what I am going to do next. I'm now at a stage in my life where I have started discovering the Tahajjud in another way. Meaning, now in my life there is a trial again, but it isn't as big as it was before. But yes, I'm going through a difficulty. It isn't that intense either, but sometimes it overpowers me. So I cry a lot, I make dua in Tahajjud. But in all this time, I discovered something about Allah. Why Allah does this? And this next part I'm going to tell you might break your heart very badly. When I started reading the Quran and the new journey of the Quran that I've started, I felt a lot through it. I will tell you about this in detail in another podcast. In all of that, it felt to me that Allah does not need our worship. We all know this, right? Our worship is for our own benefit. Allah calls us toward Himself. How does He calls us? Understand it like a game. You're going along and obstacles are coming towards you. So Allah puts those obstacles before us. Allah knows that when I send a worry upon her or him, she will turn to me. And then Allah sends a worry, we make dua, then we go back to our path, Allah resolves the problem. Then again, Allah sends a hardship or a trial. Again we make dua, just let this worry be over. Just no more now. You get tired, you say, when will my relief come? When will this problem be resolved? I don't understand how I will be able to make you understand this. Maybe I can explain it to you through visualization. So close your eyes and imagine yourself that you're making dua, you're asking Allah for something and you're crying a lot. A moment in your life when you were feeling that intense need of Him. And you say that, oh Allah, for you it's just a matter of one command. We have often heard it too, and we sometimes use this in our prayer that we ask Allah that for you it is just your kun, and your kun is enough and my whole life will change. This next thing I'm going to say is the essence of my 10 years of Tahajjud. that when you're making dua like that before Allah and you say, Allah, Allah, just give it to me, just put this thing in my lap, then sometimes look towards the sky. Look toward that Lord, that Rabb, who wants that just as He loves you, you should love Him too. Allah says, O son of Adam, I love you, so by my right over you, love me. This tahajjud, these worries, this everything, all of this is only and only so that this heart start falling in love with its master, its creator, so that it finds Him. These worries end. Even the biggest worries and trials of this world will come to an end. But in all of this, Allah, the creator, the kings of all kings, the kings of the all worlds, the creator of the whole universe, He waits for His servant because He loves us so much. He doesn't need us. He just loves us so much that He wants us to go to Jannah. He wants us to be successful. He wants us to be saved from the punishment. So He keeps waiting for His servant, that he will notice in all these things how much his Lord loves him. There was a very pious person, friend of Allah. He used to make a lot of dua for something. And in a dream, he saw that he was saying to Allah, Allah, why is my prayer not being accepted yet? I mean, I have been praying for so long. And Allah replies, just pause for a moment and imagine that being who made the universe, that He says to a small being like you and me, a being who has no value, a sinful person like me, that He would say, I love hearing your voice in dua. Do you say what this tells you about Allah? He knows that if I grant this wish for my servant, he is not coming back. So when He takes something away from you, He wants you to be with Him. To Allah, this whole world does not worth not even close to a mosquito's wing. He could give you all of this. And I heard somewhere that if this world was worth anything to Allah, He would not have fed the kafirs, the non-Muslims. So this sitting of yours in tahajjud, sitting to make a dua, this is the work of the relationship between you and Allah. Every other relationship, every other thing, the whole universe, it's every trial, every blessing, everything is a test for you. If it's a blessing, it's a test. But in all of this, one thing that can never change is your tahajjud. It is you sitting with your Lord and talking to Him. When we see among humans that when a person loves someone, what do they say to us? Give me time, talk to me. In humans, that need is out of a requirement. When you think about Allah, how much Allah loves His servant, He doesn't need us, but He still calls us towards Him out of His infinite mercy. He wants His servants to talk to Him, to put His matters before Him, to tell Him stories. So in the love of Allah, you can feel that you should talk to Allah because Allah wants you to talk to Him. And you who have been able to listen to all of this until here, I'm telling you all these incidents and telling you about my life. It is all so that Allah Almighty wants to hear your voice. He wants to hear you because you are special to Him. He loves you very much. From here onward, I'm now slowly starting to feel closely to Allah in my tahajjud again. But now it is not under any need. Now it is in His love. For those 5 years when I did not feel that proximity, when I did not feel that intensity, now when it has started to be felt again, it is not happening under something because of a trial. It is happening from the heart. But there is this fear that has been born in my heart that I might lose it, that now I hold on to it very tightly. And you know why all this change is coming into my life? Because I have started reading the Quran in a new way. I will explain that to you in detail in the next podcast. But through it, I started to know, well, I can best summarize this point to you through what Ali Raziallahu Anh said. When I talk to Allah, when I want to talk to Allah, I pray Salah. And when I want Allah to talk to me, I read the Quran. Now, the understanding those people had of the Quran and the understanding we have the Quran, there is a difference between earth and sky. But I am trying to reduce that difference by just 1 or 2%, maybe less than that, in a new way. And I started reading Quran with such depth that through it I have started to know about Allah in a different perspective with a different lens. We only know Allah to the extent that He is very merciful, and when we are worried, we make dua, He gives us the thing. So we only know this one attribute of Allah, that He is the giver, He is Ar-Rahman. But my question is, how is that Allah? How is He when He is Al-Azim, when He is Al-Basir, when He is Al-Shakur, when He is Al-Latif, when He is Al-Fattah, the opener, when He is Al-Bari, the producer, when He is Al-Khabir, the all-aware, when He is Ash-Shaheed, the witness, when He is Al-Wakil, how is that Allah? When He is the trustee, when He is Al-Hasib, the reckoner. What is that Lord like when He is Al-Badud, the most loving? We haven't even known our Lord yet. We know one aspect, one attribute of His, that He is the giver. But we don't know all His other attributes. We don't even know who made us. Why were we sent? And all these things Allah has sent down for us in this book of the Quran. He has sent them down in His word, because the Quran is not the creation of Allah. It is the word of Allah. It is the spoken word of Allah, means that the Quran is a living book. And based on that, my second episode of Fajr Reflection is about this. And in it, I will tell you everything in detail about the new way I started reading the Quran and how I understood that the Quran is a living book and how Allah talks to you through it. In the coming time, my goal is this. The method of Tahajjud that Sheikh Osama was telling in his podcast, he was saying that he prays Tahajjud in which he makes sajda. He prays 2 rakats of Tahajjud, and then every sajda is 10 minutes long. So the 4 prostrations and 10 minutes each. Now I can't do a 10 minutes prostration yet. I find it very difficult to do. For that long, and it becomes very difficult for me. So I have started with 3 to 5 minutes. I can't make all the prostrations that long. I do the first 2 and 3, and then it becomes hard for me, the last one. So my ultimate goal is that I should love Allah for the sake of Allah. I should know Him for who He is. And with that, pray Tahajjud. In Tahajjud, I should memorize the Quran as much as I memorize. I should repeat it. And then along with that, in long prostrations before the being of Allah. And I think Sheikh was saying that in those 10 minutes in sajda, in the prostration, you should surrender yourself in front of Allah completely, like submit yourself to surrender. That is the thing we all humans need to feel. May Allah grant us all guidance to act upon this. I'm not a scholar, and whatever things I'm saying are from my personal experience or from my own thinking. I'm not, because I don't have knowledge. Whatever little I know, I have learned it from the scholars' lectures or some books, but I don't have any knowledge. So if I make a mistake, or if I say something that you all feel is not right or need to be corrected, then you all tell me and I will work on that thing. Jazakallah that you listened to everything I had to say until here, and may Allah, for all of you who are listening, if even one person among you acts upon this, or even one person cries before Allah after seeing or hearing this and tries to find Allah again, then my world and my hereafter will be made. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.